Hello, welcome to Collisions does a podcast, a live show. So before we even start, I really have to give credit to Maticus and Blues over here, who you can't see, but they're running this like the most professional show ever, and I am here for it. It is amazing. So yeah, welcome to our studio audience. Chad being the only person in our studio audience, and a very nice welcome to my guest today. This is Cheepz.
Hey y'all, what's up?
He is a very excellent Street Fighter player here in the area. I mean, list off your cred, man. Like, fire off. Let's go.
So I'm Cheepz of EX Dojo, currently sponsored by Hitbox Arcade. So that's really dope. I mean, I'd say my biggest accolades that I'm like proud of right now would be I'm head of dojo for EX Dojo, which is a Discord server. Kind of matchmaking, but also I would say improvement in training. We have about 750 members, and other than that, I am a pretty active coach for Street Fighter 6. Yeah, I'd say those are my
getting more
things.
active, like every day, every week. Like Cheepz and I will meet up for coffee probably once a month, and he'll usually be like, "Yeah, I got more on deck now."
Yeah, it's hard to balance because it's like I want more students because that is like direct cash.
Sure, yeah.
And I need the money right now, but also building the dojo at the same time. So it's like,
Yeah.
if I'm working too much, the dojo's not moving along like it should be. But if I'm working too much on the dojo, then my own finances are suffering. So.
And may I add, like, you are a very good coach. Like, I think I've listened to you like coach people a little bit. I know that there's like a marked improvement in some of your students that like you've told me about and that I've seen, especially in terms of seeing them play. I know MC Amazing has coached with you for a while. He got a lot better really fast. So, sweet. Okay, so let's talk about Street Fighter.
Okay.
So, tell me how you feel about the state of the game right now.
Okay, so I want to preface this with I like Street Fighter 6 a lot. I like it more than I liked 5. But I definitely think it needs some tweaks that I don't think it's going to get. I think they're kind of designing the game in a way where everyone gets to feel strong. So like the system mechanics are, and I mean like the players individually.
Okay.
So characters and system mechanics are kind of like over the top.
Okay. It feels very over the top sometimes when I watch things.
Yeah, it's like there are just a lot of like mix-ups built into very simple things. Drive rush being like prime suspect, where checking drive rush is not a consistent thing. So there are certain characters that have mix-ups built around just doing drive rush. If you try to check drive rush jab, they can catch you with drive rush heavy.
Okay.
And vice versa. So it's not consistent. And it's things like that I would like to see toned down.
Okay.
But to me, the final nail in the coffin that like confirms that's not going to happen is the way that Mai plays.
Let's go.
When she puts that OD fan out, it's like, okay, all the other Fireball drive rush characters, you can perfect parry it and maybe check their drive rush if you're spaced properly. With Mai, you perfect parry the first part, and the second part locks you down. So it's like, I really don't think that the game is going to be slowed down, because I think from like a sales standpoint, it's a lot better to have a game where everyone feels like they get to do what they want versus something like Street Fighter 5 where you can really get iced out by someone who's better than you.
Yeah, okay.
So like in Street Fighter 6, you still get to force the mix-up even if you're getting checked for it. But yeah.
Okay. So what I'm hearing from you is basically it's not like some people get an unfair advantage in offense. Is that?
I would say, yeah, it's more like running offense is the right way to play.
Yeah, okay. As opposed to
playing kind of slow, trying to poke someone down.
Sure. Yes. Yeah.
It just feels like neutral is a lot bigger, and so the skill gap in a lot of ways is condensed. I still think you can be consistent as a top player. Like, it's not an excuse to lose, but it is very stressful fighting a much lower level of player than I would say it was in 5, at least until they got V-Trigger. Then everyone was scary, but
okay.
Since they start with these things from the beginning of the round, it's like, man, first to 2, this game is stressful.
Okay.
Like, it doesn't matter who I'm fighting. The bar for being like Yeah, the bar for being scary is very low.
Yeah. Okay. But nonetheless, you still feel like you prefer 6/5, and like in terms of its
Absolutely.
trajectory, how it's done, how Capcom has rolled it out.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, the biggest thing would be like the rollback netcode being godlike. It's so crazy to me that like we can get good matches at home, because my entire experience with the FGC prior to that was you had to go offline to get a decent quality
Right.
match. Otherwise, you were kind of playing like sort of Street Fighter, where you couldn't really see everything.
Yeah.
So you had to like wish punish a lot.
That's a good way to put it.
Whereas now, I mean, I think it's more competitive to stay at home most of the time.
Sure. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I frequently recount to people, it's like Diaphone always told me, he was like, yeah, why, I'm not going to go out and like when I can just play from home. Like,
Yeah.
So tell us where you're at as a player. What are you trying to do now? What's the goal for you?
Okay, so as a player, I'm not really actively competing right now. It's more so that I am trying to work on my brand, I guess.
Okay. Yeah. That's
Get my income up, build the dojo so
Yeah.
that I can afford to start traveling to bigger things more consistently. Other than that, though, I've really been working on my theory a lot just as a result of coaching, because there are a lot of things that I know how to do that I haven't been forced to really explain to someone who doesn't yet. Those breakthroughs definitely help me understand my own game so that I can adapt faster, because I understand each piece and how to move them around.
Yeah. So again, kind of ironically, I think everybody's always like those who can't teach, but I think it's kind of the other way around here, where I feel like being a teacher actually has made you a better player.
I think so. I think it might be a specific like player type or play style for me.
Yes, right, sure.
Because I think the people who can't teach, the more of a prodigy you are, the less likely you are to be able to explain it to someone else.
Sure, yes. Yeah, I can agree. Yeah, we've talked about this with certain players.
Yeah. So I mean, those are
just
mostly...
land the perfect parry, right?
Just land the perfect parry.
Yeah, like that shit.
No, not to name any names, but I've seen some coaching, and I don't know if this was a paid session or if this was just a stream thing, but it was very much like, just land the perfect parry.
Just be good.
So they're saying something, and it means a lot of things, but if you don't already know what they're saying or what they mean, it really is that blunt.
Yeah. No. I think it's really fascinating to see the quality of the sport, if you will, to kind of improve to a certain point. So I think at some point I will actually open this up for questions to the audience, but I'm going to ask you one more, because we actually have an audience, which is really funny to me. Mm-hmm. But hello. But last question. Where do you feel like the FGC is going right now, locally and online? So, because I do feel like those are kind of different, especially now. I feel like it's almost like they're kind of going further and further of a split in some ways, ironically. So where do you feel like things are going locally, regionally, but then also online? And what are your thoughts on that, or where would you like to see it go?
Okay, so I think I'll start with locally first. Local events have taken a pretty big hit because what they used to offer, which was a place to play a high-quality match, right, where the connection wasn't messed up, that can't compete with online now. You can get the same thing for free without leaving your house whenever you want.
Great.
There are online weeklies like almost every day of the week where you can fight top players.
Yes, yeah.
So I think that locally we're going to be shifting a lot towards more monthlies, more community-focused events, because I do think that online weeklies are very much dominating that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's kind of almost no reason to not,
As far as regionals, something that started up recently is I think it's called the Heartland TKO circuit.
Okay.
Which is like Oklahoma, Texas, I want to say Kansas.
Okay, yeah, that makes
Colorado.
sense. Yeah.
Creating a league, so it's like a circuit of
Cool.
regionals.
Yeah.
So I don't think the regional FGC is really changing much. I think that they still have plenty to offer in terms of pot bonuses.
Yeah, right.
More fierce competition. There's more that you miss out on by not going out.
Okay. Yeah.
That I don't think online weeklies quite meet the same need.
Yeah. Which is kind of fascinating. Do you feel like that just comes from the fact of like the pot bonus makes such a big difference at like a regional in terms of like the size of the pot bonus and the sort of players that attracts, or is it like the fact, like the spectacle of a regional event? Because it's like you could play all of these people from the same area, right? Like at any given point, and yet they exist. So
I think it's the pot bonus is part of it. Like pot bonuses and trophies are always dope.
Sure, yeah.
You basically never get those for weeklies.
right.
But also maybe like the travel aspect, you know,
Yeah.
like it's nice to take a little trip every now and then.
Yeah, so to kind of, yeah, there's kind of again almost like a spectacle or kind of an experience component to it.
Yeah.
Specifically. Okay.
As far as the online FGC, I mean, it's just growing like at an exponential rate.
Do you feel like you're seeing more beginners, like more and more?
Okay, like newer people coming in, but staying beginners for
Yeah.
a smaller amount of time.
Absolutely. Sure. Yeah, there's so many resources now.
It's a lot easier to find a community.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Like I said, there's access to the online weeklies, so there's consistent competition.
Right.
I think we're becoming a lot more like something like Counter-Strike maybe,
Oh, okay.
where there are leagues to compete in online.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the gateway into offline.
Okay. Yeah. Right. Almost like have some sort of competence so that you can actually like fit into the offline setting, if you will, or to almost like get some competence first online before you dive into offline.
Yeah.
And that there's more resources by proxy, I suppose.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna open it up real quick to the gallery. Does anyone have a question for us? Any? Fire away, Chad.
So how do you feel like the replay takeover feature and player AI like help the game?
Okay. So I haven't tried the player AI. I actually forgot that that's a thing. But replay takeover is one of the dopest things we've ever had because there's so many situations that are incredibly hard to recreate or would take me like maybe 10 to 15 minutes just to set up one thing that I can now just instantly take over, or a lot of questions we can answer like specifically, like could I have done this option instead? Like yesterday I was doing a coaching session with one of my students and I think they tried to jump and they got caught by like drive rush cami standing medium punch, and it wasn't an intentional safe jump, but the cami player jumped and was able to block their wake up ODDP, which like normally would be an okay answer. But we were immediately able to take over and be like, okay, would light DP have worked because it's a frame faster? And it did. That's something that I don't think we could recreate. Or if we could, it would be incredibly difficult. Like we would have to find, okay, exactly how plus is this knockdown? And then we would have to experiment a bunch of times with like save state to hit that exact same frame advantage. Something like that. So replay takeover is like by far one of my favorite new things.
Sweet. Any other questions? Oh, we got another one from the gallery. Sue, coming back.
How do you feel about Capcom's redirection of the DLC characters?
Okay. So I think they're taking a similar approach to like League of Legends, where they're intentionally making the characters over the top and like busted because they want people to pick these characters up and feel good and feel strong. So they'll buy them, or so they won't stop playing the game. Because I do think Mai is very over the top right now. I don't think she's necessarily top one, but it's like, where is this character weak? You know, when I'm looking at her, it's like walk speed is godlike, cancelable buttons are godlike. I just immediately wrote off her standing medium punch as not being a cancelable button when I saw it because of the range. I just assumed it was a poke. So I do think their general marketing strategy just for the whole game is like, we want everyone to feel good, a certain level of like power that is just like granted to pretty much anyone who has like a basic level of competency.
Any other questions? Last questions from the gallery. Sweet. I think we're actually finished early, but thanks for your time, Cheepz. This is great. I really appreciate it. And yeah, Cheepz on Dojo. Tell people how to follow you if they want to follow you. And
if you want to find me, I think the best spot to do it would be the EX Dojo Discord server. So you should be able to find it at discord.gg/EXDojo. We run lobbies every week. I'm always pretty much always the one hosting the lobby. So if you want matches with me, this is probably the easiest I've ever been to find.
All right. Well, yeah. Thanks for your time and
For sure.
sweet. Have a good
Hell yeah, dude.
Kill it.